Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jose Levy. Jose will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of do you have the resources needed to meet your strategic objectives and key results? This webinar is a new addition to our diverse library of project and portfolio management videos we have available on YouTube and our website. So if you enjoy this webinar, we welcome you to watch the other videos we have available there. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jose.
Thank you, Robert, and thanks everyone for joining today. Listen to our resource management and strategic objective webinar. So the first thing I want to highlight is, this is a topic that really is important to all organizations. We don't have endless resources. We don't have, and by resources, we're talking about people, equipment, materials. So we are tasked with delivering value to our customers, meeting strategic objectives defined by management, and um, we have to understand the trade-offs in assigning and allocating resource to all of the different initiatives that we have. Now, what I'm showing are the original critical capabilities for project portfolio management, and this has evolved if you've seen some of our webinars where we talk a lot about strategic portfolio management, which is really three different use cases within one. Um, Irrespective of which one you're addressing, the topic of resource capacity planning is is something that you have to uh, get really good at within your organization. It's often a topic that's avoided or siloed at times, but if you want to succeed in strategic portfolio management and portfolio management in general, you need to have a focus on resource capacity planning. In the hundreds of prospects and customers that I talk to, this is by far the a priority, trying to solve this problem. And it's a complex problem. It takes a lot of coordination and a lot of tooling, a lot of governance in order to do it correctly. But I want to highlight that you see it in the center, and I think it just happened to be that it is in the center because it connects to every single other major area, from demand management to planning, to the portfolio selection and prioritization, to the financial management, because there's costs associated with the resources, to the collaboration, to the program management, and to the reporting services. So um, we often see this as a phase one capability that needs to be built within the organization. So in that sense, what is resource management? We really need to be efficient and effective in deploying and allocating, again, people, materials, equipment, in order to meet desired goals and objectives. And the benefits are pretty obvious. You're going to have, if you're doing it on a centralized basis, if you're doing it uh, in a structured and managed fashion, then you're going to be able to have that resource visibility, understand where the business value is on the trade-offs, whether you can take on projects, not take on projects, and achieve, save time and money, achieve savings uh, by not taking on a project that you can't deliver, uh, increase project success rates, accommodate demand. In some organizations, demand is assumed to be all approved and accepted, and it's really not the case. And as we have seen over the last couple of years with the pandemic and with the uh, resource needs that organizations have, employee satisfaction has been lowered because folks are basically working, everyone's working overtime and well above their capacity. So this is something that you want to focus on. So here's some of the challenges. We've talked about this before. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but the resource management challenges, it has to do with also with the fact that it has different dimensions. Resource management actually operates at different levels within the organization. There's the team lead or the resource owner. There is, as you escalate, as you go further down, there's a project manager that actually has to assign resources to tasks. And as you go up above, you can at a program level, at a portfolio level, at our organization level, those dimensions have different so are different perspectives to those different users. So you have to take into account all of these, the focus, the non-project workload. A lot of times, non-project work is really not considered or not accounted for correctly, and that's what uh, results in over allocations. Resource tracking, and you're actually understanding the work that folks are doing, the visibility into the future work, as defined by either team leads or the resource themselves, is the entire organization reporting resource utilization collectively. In most cases, that answer is no. And really, having too much information and not focusing on what's important in terms of uh, our ability to, meet what we've committed to uh, with our objectives. So we kind of define a five-step process here, although it's all now with the way that we build OnePlan, you can actually address all of them. And the last two, team formation and personal productivity, are very now related to objectives and key results because all of our actions actually contribute to key results. And if you've implemented that within your organization, you'll see that very very specific individual activities of an individual and a team actually contribute to the OKRs um, as defined by the organization. But essentially, in an enterprise level, we're going to look at resource capacity. So, what is the true capacity of the resources that we have? And you can disaggregate that by team, or by business unit, by team, uh, by individual. How are you going to allocate those resources across the work that is in flight and new? And what is the resource work management? How are those tasks evolving as you um, build plans, detailed plans, and project managers or scrum masters, define tasks and allocations of our points in enterprise agile. Uh, if you've gotten through these three, then you're working more at the team level. And again, if you're doing enterprise agile, that might be a priority to begin with. And then you get to work management, where you can actually personal productivity in terms of determining how folks can work better on their task in order to achieve the goals that have been defined. So it's a difficult uh, capability to build. There's a lot of different dimensions that you have to take into account in order to have true readiness or maturity with resource management. So the first is understanding roles and resources and how they are uh, assigned, allocated, brought into the demand picture with new projects. Then planning and tracking granularity when plans or projects or plans are developed. Are we looking at it at a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis? There's approval and negotiation, and usually has to do with there's uh, not enough resources. So where do you make the decision on who gets assigned to what in order to um, undo a bottleneck within a specific project? Um, Governance and prioritization, establishing the standards by which everyone in the organization is going to go through and define resources and how to prioritize um, resource usage. Forecasting versus actuals. We do real well usually in forecasting, but then comparing to actuals and learning from that and seeing what is actually taking place needs to be brought into the picture. And again, um, we usually see this through integrations um, or bringing in timesheets in order to see what resources have actually delivered. And then the costing side, which gets us into financial, that's the relationship to financial because every resource has a cost. So we have to figure out exactly, um, the forecasted and actual cost for that resource over time. Uh, so what we're trying to do, or one approach, is to actually balance the top down and bottom up, which means that you have your uh, top down planning, based on supply and demand, and the skills that are within the organization against what's actually being demanded by project managers in the delivery of work. So what we're trying to do is really make sure that we have these two perspectives integrated at all times. So you're building your capability based on these, you know, these sub areas for resource capacity. You're going to make sure that you have your generic roles defined. You understand where bottlenecks are, where you don't have enough of a specific type, the supply and demand based on the work, and the sequence delivery. Again, these are more the top down when you're actually doing the planning, and we'll get into some of that in our demonstration how we actually achieve that with OnePlan. You get into then the next area is really getting to the named resource assignment. So making sure that your generic role is mapped to the individuals. Uh, we here now we're at the project plan level. In resource work management, we're actually looking at the task within a project or an agile plan. And then we get into understanding individuals and teams, and especially in enterprise agile when we're looking at velocity and how effective our teams are in delivering points through our burn down charts and so on. So the other importance is this is resource management on its own doesn't exist without demand management and portfolio management. And demand management we define as ideation and understanding everything that the organization can might want to deliver, doing analysis on it, and being able to develop a business case in order to then get into the portfolio selection and prioritization. Now you can see that there's a direct connection between resource management and demand and portfolio management. So, well, we can say, well, we could do demand and portfolio management without resource management. You actually can't do effective delivery without understanding resource availability and understanding, whether you have the capacity to deliver the project that you've approved. Otherwise, you're just going to have a queue of projects that require staffing, and unless you have the resource management process in place, you're not going to be able to meet the demand that's been defined by the portfolio management process. So they're tightly coupled and important for you to develop as a process as you increase maturity in your overall portfolio management. So in very simple terms, what we're trying to do, and we're oversimplifying this because there's a lot of other variables and factors, but just to simplify, what we want to do is you have your demand, what is required for each project. You prioritize the projects, and you're allocating resources based on roles. And then what you're trying to do is make sure that you match that with the capacity. A lot of the modern approaches, frameworks in Enterprise Agile in particular, is about understanding that we don't have endless capacity. So we have to figure out how to maximize the results and the value of the capacity to meet that demand. So what you want to end up doing is, we develop projects based on committed availability, and we don't start projects if resources are unavailable. I know that's really hard to do, and there's a lot of nuances and situations in organizations where things have to get started sometimes even if you don't have all of the resources. But if you work at this and you have the process and you have the ability to match the capacity and demand and understand the impact of not having that capacity. So the most common approach, and this is something we're putting in here in case your organization is in this situation. If in most organizations we run into, it always starts with some Excel that tries to forecast what the utilization is going to be. based on roles and based on projects uh, and the forecasted work. And it's a good starting point. However, if you're trying to get to an enterprise level and you're trying to get to strategic portfolio management, you're going to need a solution that overcomes the challenges with Excel. So either Excel or any other non-centralized resource center is going to have these challenges. You don't have any standards. Everyone has their own perspective on how to forecast. There are manual and static models, and we have daily and weekly changes that are occurring to plans, which need to be reflected in that the resource capacity uh, in the enterprise resource plan. As such, you have no dynamic visibility. So again, static pictures that are outdated. It's time consuming to update. It's disconnected. Difficult to consolidate for overall reporting. There is really no governance controls at all because everyone's kind of siloed doing their own thing. And the last one I think is really important for strategic performance. You can't really understand what the impact of resource decisions are on the strategic alignment of projects. So you might be taking resources away, and it might have a significant impact on not being able to meet key results that you committed to. So again, another critical uh, aspect of not using a centralized resource center and resource plan. This applies to enterprise agile as you evolve into enterprise agile, or adaptive if you happen to be in the center. And again, you just need to be able to harmonize the approaches. The traditional project portfolio management talks about hours and capacity and utilization. The same concept can apply to enterprise agile approaches that you've been adapted. The only difference is, we're talking about points and velocity and burn downs of individual teams, and as you plan in your agile planning tool. And there's conversion that can occur. And again, don't want to get into the different approaches and pros and cons of doing one way or another, but in the end, you need to be able to harmonize and understand capacity, whether you're on the agile portfolio management approach or the traditional project portfolio management approach. And we believe that, again, no matter what approach, resource capacity planning is critical, and you have to build and understand how to do it, whether, again, you're in one or the other framework. And just to instill the point on enterprise agile, you what happens is you've divided your resource pool into teams, whether it's product teams or development teams, and they're going to be working on a specific product line or portfolio or value stream. However, you have structured your enterprise agile approach. You will have scarcity, and you have to get to the uh, you atomic unit of work and individual resource level between products and teams, because even when you're delegating or giving the power to a team leader, a scrum master, or a program manager to decide and make those decisions, you're talking about individuals that reside within those teams, and whether you're moving them in between PIs, or moving them between sprints, you still need to actually track their work and their allocation. So it is of critical importance, even if you're talking about an enterprise agile approach. One more concept, we have to take into account work uh, and capacity. At the end of the day, it's individuals, again, or material or equipment that has a defined capacity, and there's scheduled, unscheduled work, routine work, and all of that, um, uh, you know, it goes into the mix of understanding individual capacity and then organizational capacity. Uh, and one additional concept, and this has uh, been brought on. It's or accentuated even more with Enterprise Agile, where we're really talking about rolling waves. So it's no longer an annual planning approach. And even within, if you've gone to quarterly planning, even within quarterly planning, you're looking at variations and changes that occur. So uh, portfolio rebalancing using with resource capacity planning should occur, on a monthly basis. When you're looking at new projects, that means that you need to have all that information updated in order to make good decisions on what to take on, or what to put on hold and so on. So uh, to jump to our presentation, a demonstration of OnePlan, what are we looking at? Well, we really need to move to a transformative resource management solution approach. And really what that means is that you need to have a modern UI, centralized data store of all resource attributes, capacity, work that's been assigned, a process that you can follow within the solution, actionable intelligence and reporting that gives you, insights into what's going on and what capacity is available and how you can use it. Number 5, alignment with strategies. I talked about how it's now more, as we move more towards managing business outcomes through associating key results with initiatives. You need to be able to understand the impact of not making, not assigning resources to projects on the overall objectives and key results of the organization. So, for that, you actually, need tooling that's going to be really difficult to do with, traditional methods. Scenario modeling. So, if we decide to make changes on, dynamically, how does that impact the rest of the organization and the rest of the decisions we've made? So you need to have that tooling also in order to be able to develop that scenario planning. And ease of updating change, having a solution that is available 24/7 to anyone around the world in order to make changes to projects, to resources, to really anything within your portfolio model. So that's what we have OnePlan. OnePlan connects strategy to execution, and one of the principal parts of it is resource planning. So we have a uh, OnePlan resource planning module that really wraps around the rest of the components of OnePlan. It's connected to the portfolio, obviously, to the plan types. There's rates that are going to give you costing, and that's why we have financial plan. Obviously, the work plan has the resource assignments that can be costed, and that's how assignments are individually made to projects, whether you're using traditional method or agile plan. And then finally, status reporting, rolling up all of that information in order to view what's taking place. And this is very, very much like we showed earlier in the slides. We're really trying to bring bottom up and top down to marry, capacity and demand. So the first dimension that I talked about is the strategic portfolio management, where you actually need to understand initiatives that impact key results. Again, if you decide to take on an initiative, cancel, put on hold an initiative, then how is that going to impact, the overall OKRs of the organization? So this is directly related to strategic execution management, which is one of the use cases of the strategic portfolio management. Then, at a delivery level, you have the resource capacity planning within a project or an agile plan. And here we give you the ability to, at any state of the project, any stage of the project, you can actually be doing resource planning to understand whether it's generic or named resources that need to be assigned, and have the flexibility to look at the existing demand and work in progress to see whether you can actually assign folks or not to the new initiatives. All of that is going to roll up, so we're coming back. Once you've done the individual projects, we're going to roll that up to an organizational level and give you the tools so that you can see where your surplus or deficits are, who has availability, who doesn't, who has the work, being able to easily make substitutions based on who can actually take on the work, um, and using the summary, the global resource summary plan to see uh, skill sets and teams roles uh, across all projects. So and here this particular capability is useful also for team leads and business unit managers, folks that own a specific set of resources and actually want to see what they're working on and how they can be allocated to future work that's coming. The last part is leveraging for strategic portfolio analysis, um, and this is at the PMO level, trying to understand what we're how are we going to deliver the committed portfolio of work. It could be a program also, um, and we'll show how you can actually model depending on the set of projects that you're taking on, and understand your budget benefits and committed effort across them. I don't want to leave out financial planning. It's really not. We're going to have a webinar next upcoming on this uh, capability of OnePlan, but here within the context of resource capacity planning, uh, you can cost out and understand cost impact of adding resources or taking them away. The resource center needs to take into account the cost of a resource, and give you then, once you've forecasted effort, what the actual cost is of labor for for the plan. So, OnePlan gives you the ability to do that in many different ways. So don't want to get into this topic too much, just to say that, it is an important element of resource capacity planning. Reporting, everything that's in OnePlan is available through our out-of-the-box report pack, and to give you insights into capacity planning and allocations. There's a specific set of resource dashboards that we have for that. So that is available again when you subscribe to OnePlan. All right, so let's jump to the demonstration real quick. Okay, so we're in OnePlan, and I am Danny Williams, who is our portfolio manager, and we'll give you some individual role perspectives that change the presentation. But we're in home, and again, if you haven't been in OnePlan, this is our home page where you can actually have insights on actions that you have to take specific for you, and again, they're role based. You have some conversations on projects that you're participating in, comments that have been made by other folks, and again that in projects that you're in. In the plans is really the important part of the homepage, because it shows you things that you own. And by the way, when we talk about plans, this is within OnePlan, what we call plan types. So it could be a portfolio, program, project. You see all the different plan types that are within this this template, which is our strategic portfolio management template. So it does include objective and key results. It does include ideas, and it does include business architecture and enterprise architecture elements. You don't have to have it this way. This is just the way that the template is built out for you. And can you change it? Absolutely, 100% tailorable to your organization and the way that you manage portfolio, programs, projects, epics, whatever that is. So here I have plans that I own, and I can see that I have some compliance scores that have been given to me, and then shared plans that I own, and then my favorites, and I also have all plans. What we want to highlight here is that you can see that I could be managing an idea. I could be managing a project, managing an application. So within the home page, you can go directly to the item that you want. I don't want to do that just to not disturb my flow here, but I could go directly to the item by just clicking at it and looking at the individual item. I can go back here. So from the home page, on the left-hand side, we have what we call our areas, And I'm going to start by again focusing on how resource management can affect my strategy. So the first thing is that we have our objectives and key results, and what you're going to um, develop is that okay, within my objectives and key results, I can actually have my area where I manage them. Each one of these has its own detailed form where you can define it, describe it, have its time, what you're trying to reach in terms of investments for launch new products successfully, the key results that are associated with it. In other words, if I reach these key results, I have the ability to impact and meet, launch a new product successfully. So um, you can see here that I have I could go directly to the key result, by the way, which in itself also has its own form. So again, now I'm at the second level, and I can see the detail of it. There's reporting of it. These are the check-ins that have occurred, um, and everything else that has been associated with this key result. And I can go back here. There's views in terms of what you're seeing here for my objectives and key results. So I could focus on something specifically, but the what we're really trying to uh, get to is the key results are really driven by a number of initiatives. So these initiatives, which are projects, they in this configuration, in this template, their project could be epics, it could be really a number of things. If we achieve these, the the output and outcomes of these initiatives are going to allow us to achieve our key results. So here's where the resource management begins to play a factor because again, if we want to achieve a key result to reach the objective, we need to make sure we have enough resources in order to get to uh, these have resources to get these projects delivered. So we now know that achieving NPS is really dependent on having these three initiatives well delivered and you can see the prioritization scores are here. So they're now these become important in the context of our entire portfolio. So let's go to the support customer using mobile real quick just so you see. So now we've gone from a very high objective to the key result to the actual project. And again, tying it all together in terms of resource management, this would have come in as an idea that would have been approved, and it could have come within our ideation area, by the way. So we could have evolved it from our ideation. Uh, we we will, the project manager that's assigned once that our demand process takes place could have completed all of the information at the beginning stages. At some point, again, in our creator select, I would have defined a resource plan. So this is where it all begins because here's where we define the resources that we're going to need to deliver support customer use of mobile in order to meet that key result that I highlighted earlier. So resource planning, you can do it top down. So we give you the ability to, use what's called a committed plan. Or if you want, you could actually develop a schedule in this case. And um, in this case, we actually have a hybrid plan that has both backlog, a backlog and compliance. You can see here that we have a schedule. So these has assignments. So again, the assignments came because I have an enterprise resource pool, a resource center that gives me the ability to, look at the availability of that resource and whether they can take on work. And in fact, we actually give you the ability to show the resource plan directly within when you're actually scheduling. So this is a really important tool because you can be making assignments while looking at the resource. So again, we went to the project and we are now making our estimates on what it's going to take to actually deliver this project. By the way, our details, just so you understand, this is where we actually made, where we defined all of our metadata and made our associations. So And by the way, you can see here that we have project statusing also. But prominently, I just want to highlight that we do have an effort section. So it does give us what is a committed effort, what do we think when we plan and approve this, what is it going to take, what is actually in the project schedule right now, what are the actual hours that have been posted and the remaining effort. So all of this, again, for a project manager, so when I say project manager, I can actually have this information that is going to be provided if all I do is update my schedule from using my list. And then obviously the resource plan will be updated subsequently if I'm updating my schedule. So that's a project manager. So the project manager is going to be working. By the way, with the resource plan, we do have the ability to do negotiation. So you see here that the project manager can propose a resource. Resource manager can come in and make the proposal a committed resource assignment. So, by the way, here, if you wanted to go through and do replacement of resource and match on someone that's over allocated, we could do that. So again, these are the tools that we were talking about that are required in order to be able to rebalance resources. So at an individual project level, I could come here and be replacing a resource, based on availability. So I could put Joe because Gavin looks to be over allocated. And if I did this, by the way, it could go to the resource manager for the resource manager to decide to make it a committed booking. So that's at an individual project level. I want to stop here, and then we're going to assume that every project manager is now going to be delivering, building their resource plans again at whatever point they receive the project. So then the PMO, now we're going to put on our PMO hat, and in order to see what is the overall effort by project. And here we have a project effort summary view that's basically rolling up all that information that we developed for every one of those projects. And in fact, here we have one that needs staffing, so the PMO already knows that. So, and we haven't gotten yet to our prioritization, but we could use this information as we move into prioritization. The other view before I go to prioritization is that we do have the summary of all resource plans showing. So a team lead or a business unit lead, functional lead can actually come in and see, okay, within IT, for my resources by role, what is the work that has been committed? And I can actually get to, here we have generic resources and named resources, and then I can see specifically where Daniel Williams is going to be working over the next few months. And obviously, being a demo resource, a test resource, you can see that he's severely over allocated. I could, by the way, move from hours or percent to FTE. So if you're not using hours, you can change that format. The other concept is you can look at it by role, so which is another important perspective. So again, you're a team lead or a business unit manager, and you want to look at where are my resources, and I can come in here and see, okay, it looks like we do need to hire developers based on the project load that we have here, and you can see that we have both generics and named resources showing. So we have now all of our projects that have been resourced, and by the way, they could be projects in different states, as I showed here. We have some that are proposed, some that are active, some that are on hold. But again, the organization, all of our project managers and team members, we have defined what the requirements are, again, for all those projects, depending on where their state are. So the next step that we could use is, okay, let's go to actually and do some modeling on this. And really what this is I'll start here. This is one of the capabilities of OnePlan. We've been working on what we call our new modeler, which gives you the ability to define multiple models on specific sets of projects based on specific filters. So we're going to do a couple of scenarios here just to take home the concept of resource planning and OKRs. So within IT planning, we're going to open up this model that we've already developed, and it basically, shows me my summary set of projects. So, and I have 108 projects that I want to do, and they have been stack ranked. So we have, you can see that they have been, ordered here based on priority, and I have my prioritization score here. I do have my committed effort. So I have actually all my estimates that I have done using our resource plan at an individual project level. And you can see that I have my benefits and my budget here also. So, I could be in a situation where, I only have, um, 145,000 hours. So obviously I'm red. And what I need to do is figure out, how am I going to, what do I need to do in order to get to this level? Because obviously it exceeds the committed effort that I currently have. You could be also doing this in terms of, I also need to only spend 25 million. And, through by using the tool, you could be developing then, the scenarios. So I went ahead and did it just for time's sake, where I have then selected um, the projects that are going to get me to my committed effort. I'm able to model this further, but I added 25 million and $50 million benefits. I have 96 projects that are in, and more importantly, these are the ones that are out. So, um, and we notice here that, okay, we have two that are out, which we might want to see if we can obtain some funding for, because they're actually impacting the key results that we were looking at initially on NPS, which is, improving your Net Promoter Score. So, if I wanted to actually bring these on, I could, but I'm now in a situation where I'm over uh, my budget amount. So that's that kind of. By the way, here I could resave this and say, save this scenario again and say with exceptions, because with additional funding Q4. So I can save that as a scenario and basically have the dialogue in order to try to get to uh, those key results that we were looking at. Again, what we were talking about here is, okay, what's the impact of not doing these? And they're fairly high prioritized projects. So we could pick this one up and say, okay, this is it's so important to us. Support customer using mobile, because it's a project that we were looking at earlier. We actually need to make it a top 10 project. And again, I could save it as my scenario for Q4, with funding. So again, that nice, easy way of incorporating additional projects, impacting the NPS, and then trying to see if you can, make your scenario. You could, do several scenarios here. So here's another one that deals directly with at a lower budget level. So let me go ahead and reload. My internet connectivity is not helping me, so I apologize for that. So I'll go ahead and. So you have the ability to make dynamic changes, and I think that's really what we're trying to say here, that um, you can develop different models, and so we'll go to our 20 million model. That I went to a strategic. I'm going to go to this one in a second. Let me go. Actually, what I wanted to do was go to the IT one. That's our next step, strategic portfolio. Because we have a 20 million budget, I can then, compare. So that's the other aspect of this analysis, that I can say on a summary basis, if I went down to 20 million, what are the differences? and you can see that our committed effort, goes down significantly. So again, if you were in a situation where you already know that in the next quarter you're going to be with less funding, you could be already having that analysis done so that you can come in and show leadership how you plan to achieve that constraint that you have. So then in this case again we're basically reducing 14 projects because of our uh, you know 5 million shortfall. So uh, so that's and all the data is available for reporting. So if we wanted to dig even deeper, that is there. So let's go to the strategic portfolio planning one that I want to go into again in the theme of funding specific objectives and key results. We do have the ability to then, filter an entire set of projects based on what a specific target or goal is. And so we've already done this here. So what if we wanted to fund growing our corporate global business, what do we need to, how can we achieve that? What do we need to fund? So again, based on that, there's 7 projects that are in, 101 that are out, and it's because I have, only $1.5 million and $4 million in benefits. It looks like I have enough committed effort in terms of the resources that are assigned, and that actually came about because we can go and specifically address key results that have been defined. So here, achieve 100% year-to-year sales growth is showing me the initiatives that are associated with that, and I can focus here on based on my scenario constraints what I want to select, choose or not. So it looks like I don't have enough funding, so there's one of these is going to have to come out based on priority impact. Which one? So I mean, if we took off this enhancement to sales reports, we're getting closer. So that's kind of an analysis of here, and then we can go ahead and just resave the scenario as I did previously. So if we switch that perspective to what we're going to invest in improving customer excellence, again, because I've completed my project details, because I've done the definition of committed effort, I have all this available, and it looks here that I'm doing good, but I anticipate that what's going to happen in the next quarter is I'm going to come in again expecting slight downturn in revenue, so I'm not going to have as much budget. It looks like I have, what do I need to take out of here in order to meet that constraint? So um, we have some projects here, some highly prioritized projects that are ranked at a lower level. Maybe it's mobile timesheets. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that one. So here I'm getting closer to that amount. That's a manageable variance within the constraint. So but again, I can save that as our scenario. So again, that is our modular capability, and you can see that we have many different models that have been developed. Even from an ideation standpoint, you can use the modeler to do the prioritization of ideas, model the prioritization of ideas. And one more aspect that I want to talk about, which I did not, and from 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 this scenario perspective, if you wanted to go more on a time phase basis, you can add that to it, which means that I can bring in my Gantt, I can bring in my resource load. So now I have all the tools available in order to be able to determine, and I'm going to go here, and this is something that, this is existed in OnePlan previously. It's now within this new modular capability, which is essentially, okay, I'm obviously over allocated, so I can, the 2 actions that I can take is, okay, if we take this proposed project propeller, can we actually move it into and deliver it, a few quarters ahead? Does that actually relieve the resource over allocation? Here we have an on hold project. Let's just release the resources. and not, not have it be a constraint. So you could be working and doing a specific scenarios in order to build to that the capacity that you have. So again, it's part of the model capability to surface the resource, time phase resources, and then be able to resequence proposed projects and active projects. All the data set is here, by the way. So if I wanted to bring my prioritization score forward, and then make decisions based on that, I can do that also. So again, part of modeling. Just want to make sure that everybody knew that's still there as a capability. All right, I'm going to now go back to our presentation. So we did our deep dive on resource management. This is something that you have to work on. So if you intend to be successful at any level within project portfolio management, you need to focus on resource management. It's both a process and tooling that you need. There's different ways of going about it, but starting with understanding capacity and resource types is usually the first step, and then you can move into you know named resource planning. If you have resource loaded schedules, then it can be easier because you're actually that demand is being defined as you're actually building your project plan. Uh, OnePlan has all the tools to do that, and no matter where you are in a maturity level, you can start meet you where you're at and move forward in your maturity. If you happen to have existing tools, we can actually also integrate to those. So we do a lot of that in the context of resource management. There's a lot of tools that already exist, so we integrate and give you those perspectives and that modeling that you just saw. Um, and it is OnePlan is fully integrated and embedded in the Microsoft Cloud. So if you're using any of the project tools that are already there, or Azure DevOps also, and we also have our connectors to Jira and all other planning tools. So, next steps, I don't think you are in a continuous improvement journey. So you have to, I think, on an annual basis, be looking at how we can get better at resource management and what are the things we can do to improve within the organization to allocate and deploy resources better to achieve our key objectives and key results. So, build a roadmap. It's fairly standard now. Over time, what do we need to do to get better, and what are the steps, and take it in step-like fashion. There's adoption and change management that goes into this within the organization. Don't overlook that. And then you develop an action plan and execute against it. So as you might already know, OnePlan is the PPM Partner of the Year for Microsoft. What that means is that we've been involved with the most number of organizations within the Microsoft ecosystem in the deployment of project tools, and we have a large set of customers using our solution and using our expertise also, because OnePlan is much more than just the solution provider. We have an advisory arm and support arm. Essentially, any organization that wants to get better at portfolio management, build the portfolio management capability, should be talking to us. And again, we really want to be your business agility transformation partner in portfolio management in capabilities across the Microsoft clouds. We do have a webinar coming up. We're going to be dealing with the other side. So we dealt with financials today, with resource management today. We're going to be dealing with financials in our next webinar. So please join us for that. All of our webinars are within our website, so please register for that. And we have our trials within AppSource, so feel free to register. There is a specific resource management app, although you were looking today at the strategic portfolio management app, which has all of the components. So it's a fairly comprehensive solution You don't have to deploy it all, by the way. If you're not ready for some of those elements, they can be taken on. You can build over time those capabilities. But the specific modular and resource management capabilities belong within the strategic portfolio management app. If you're interested in having a discussion of where you're at and where you need to go, what your vision is, let us know, and we can do a roadmap workshop discussion of, again, how you can implement some of these best practices in resource management. And again, feel free to go to our website for trials or a personalized one-on-one demo. And with that, I thank everyone for joining today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us directly. Look forward to being in touch and helping you improve resource management and portfolio management.